The ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. Ji-won pressed her face against the window, watching the stars. She had waited 3 years for this moment. The coalition rarely gave permission to visit the quarantine zones. These were dangerous places, or so everyone said. Places where terrible things happened long ago. "We're approaching the boundary now," Commander Taeyang said from behind her. His voice was always calm, always controlled. He did not like this mission. Ji-won knew that. But he followed his orders. Ji-won turned to look at him. "Thank you for bringing us here." Taeyang nodded but said nothing. He thought archaeologists asked too many questions about things best forgotten. The Great Purge Wars ended 3,000 years ago. Why dig up old pain? Suddenly, alarms screamed through the ship. Red lights flashed everywhere. The crew rushed to their stations. On the main screen, Ji-won saw something impossible. Ancient satellites were powering up. They had been dead for thousands of years. Now they moved, tracking the ship with weapons that should not work. Defensive positions. Taeyang shouted, but the weapons did not fire. Instead, a message appeared on every screen. Strange symbols that nobody recognized at first. Then the computer translated them into Galactic Standard. The message was simple but confusing. It asked mathematical questions. "Basic problems about numbers and shapes. It's testing us," Ji-won whispered. "It wants to know if we're intelligent." They answered the questions quickly. The weapons powered down. The satellites went quiet again. But they did not shut off completely. They were watching, waiting. "What kind of people build defenses like that?" one crew member asked. "People who valued intelligence," Ji-won said quietly. "People who wanted to talk before they killed." They landed on a dead world. The planet had no name anymore, only a number. Kepler 442b. Once it had forests and oceans. Now it was just rock and dust. The air was poison. They wore protective suits as they explored. Ji-won found it first. A mountain that was not natural. When she looked closer, she saw words carved into the stone. Millions of words. No, not words, names, endless lists of names covering the entire mountain face. "What is this place?" Taeyang asked, standing beside her. "A memorial," Ji-won said. Her hand shook as she touched the carved stone. "These are all human names. This isn't a monument to victory. It's a monument to loss." They explored deeper into the dead cities. Everything was intact but abandoned. The humans had left in a hurry, or they had been forced to leave. In an underground bunker, sealed behind doors that took hours to open, they found what they were looking for. The holographic archive activated automatically when they entered. A woman appeared before them, flickering blue and transparent. She wore strange clothes from an ancient time. Her face was tired but determined. "My name is Dr. Minho," the hologram said. "I am recording this message in the year 2847 by the old calendar. If you are watching this, then 3,000 years have passed. If you are watching this, then our enemies think we are extinct. Good. Let them believe that for a while longer." Ji-won's breath caught in her throat. "Pause recording," she commanded. She looked at Taeyang. His face had gone pale. "She said 3,000 years, Taeyang whispered. "She planned this. They knew exactly how long they would wait." "Continue recording," Ji-won said. The hologram continued. "We are not dead. We are sleeping, scattered across 100 hidden worlds in places you will never find unless we want you to. We are waiting for the right time to wake up. We are waiting until the galaxy forgets to fear us, but we will never forget what was done to us. We will never forget our dead. And when we return, we will be ready." The message ended. Silence filled the bunker. Finally, Hyunwoo spoke. He was Ji-won's old teacher, a scholar who had studied the quarantine zones longer than anyone. He had been quiet during the entire mission. Too quiet. "I tried to warn the council," Hyunwoo said. His voice sounded ancient and sad. "I told them not to send anyone here. I told them that some doors should stay closed. But they never listened to old men." "You knew?" Ji-won stared at her teacher. "You knew humans might still be alive?" "I suspected," Hyunwoo said. "The coalition was not built to keep peace in the galaxy, child. It was built for one purpose only, to make sure humanity never rose again. And now you have woken them up. Now you have told them that their enemies still exist. Now you have started something that cannot be stopped." Taeyang activated his communication device. "Command, this is Explorer 7. We have found something. Something that changes everything. Requesting immediate extraction and emergency council session." As they left the bunker, Ji-won looked back at the hologram projector one last time. Dr. Minho's face was frozen in the air. her eyes staring forward through 3,000 years of waiting. Those eyes held a promise and a warning. The galaxy thought humans were extinct. The galaxy was wrong, and soon everyone would know it. The cold was the first thing Nari felt. Deep cold that reached into her bones. Then came the pain. Every muscle hurt. Every breath burned. She forced her eyes open and saw white light. Too bright. She tried to move, but her body would not listen. "Easy, Captain." A gentle hand touched her shoulder. "You've been asleep for a long time. Your body needs to remember how to work." Memories flooded back. The war, Earth burning. The desperate evacuation. Climbing into the cryopod while enemy ships filled the sky. She remembered closing her eyes, not knowing if she would ever wake up. "How long?" Her voice came out as a whisper. 3,000 years, Captain." The automated systems detected a threat. They woke us early. 3,000 years. Everyone she knew was dust. Earth itself was gone, destroyed in the final days of the war. She wanted to cry, but her body had no tears yet. She was a soldier. She would mourn later. First, she needed to understand the situation. "Status report," she ordered, forcing strength into her voice. Over the next hours, she learned the truth. 50,000 humans were awake now. More pods were still warming up. The coalition that destroyed humanity now controlled the galaxy. They believed humans were extinct, and someone had just discovered their hiding place. Nari stood on the command deck of the underground base. Around her, people worked frantically, setting up weapons, activating old defense systems, preparing for what might come. "Captain, we have incoming ships. Coalition fleet. They're not attacking yet." Nari looked at the screens. Modern ships surrounded their planet. So many of them. But she felt no fear. She had reviewed the Coalition's technology. In 3,000 years, they had advanced in many ways. But their military technology had stayed mostly the same. Maybe because they had no one left to fight. Meanwhile, humanity's weapons had been maintained by automated systems. Ready. Waiting. "They're hailing us," the communications officer said. "They want to talk." "Open a channel." A face appeared on the screen. An alien, one of the Velkari species. He wore a military uniform. Behind him stood a younger Velkari woman who looked nervous. "I am Commander Taiyang of the Coalition Defense Fleet. I come in peace." "Peace," Nari repeated. The word tasted bitter. "Your people tried to exterminate mine. We remember. We remember everything." "That was 3,000 years ago," the woman said, stepping forward. "I am Jiwon. I'm an archaeologist. I discovered your message. Please, we don't want another war. We want to understand what happened." "What happened is simple," Nari said. "We explored space. We grew, we built, and you destroyed us for it. You burned our worlds. You killed billions. You hunted us like animals. The only reason any of us survived is because we hid like rats in the walls of the galaxy. The records say humanity was aggressive," Taeyang said carefully, "that you threatened other species, that the war was necessary." Nari laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Of course your records say that. History is written by those who survive, and you made sure we didn't survive to tell our side." Seojin entered the command deck. He was young, a civilian engineer who had woken up confused and afraid. But he had found his courage quickly. Now he carried a datapad full of old records. "Captain, I've been reading the archives. What they did to us, it was genocide. They didn't try to negotiate. They didn't give us a chance. They just started killing." "I need to see those records," Jiwon said urgently through the screen. "If what you say is true, if our history is a lie, then everything changes." "Why should we trust you?" Nari asked. "Because I came here looking for truth," Jiwon said. "And because right now the Coalition Council is meeting. They're deciding what to do about you. Some of them want peace, but others want to finish what they started 3,000 years ago. We need to work together or everyone loses." Nari thought about it. Every instinct told her not to trust these people. But she also knew humanity was weak right now. Only 50,000 awake against a galaxy of trillions. They needed time. Time to wake more people. Time to rebuild their strength. "We will meet with you," Nari said. "But understand this. 3,000 years ago, your ancestors tried to exterminate us. We're willing to forgive. But we will never forget. And we will never be helpless again. If you attack us, you'll learn why the old galaxy feared humanity." Far away in the Coalition capital, Counselor Doyen watched the conversation. His face showed no emotion. He turned to his aide. "Send the order. Move the containment fleet into position. Arm the planet killers. If the humans refuse to return to sleep, we will finish this permanently. Sir, the Council hasn't voted yet on military action. The Council will vote the way I tell them to vote, Doyen said coldly. Humanity nearly destroyed the galaxy once. I will not let them have another chance. This time we make sure they stay dead. The ultimatum arrived an hour later. Return to cryosleep or be destroyed. Every human heard it. Every human felt the old anger rising again. Nari's response was broadcast across every coalition channel. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of 3,000 years of pain. You mistake our patience for weakness. You mistake our willingness to talk for inability to fight. If you want another war, you'll get one. But this time you'll learn why the old galaxy feared us. This time we're ready. Admiral Minjay stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the planet below. 50 warships surrounded it. Each carried enough firepower to turn a world into ash. He had fought in border conflicts before, but this was different. This was personal. His grandmother had told him stories about the human wars. Stories that gave him nightmares as a child. Admiral, we have movement. Human defense platforms are powering up. Are they targeting us? No, sir, they're just watching. That made it worse somehow. If the humans attacked, he could respond. But this waiting felt like standing next to a sleeping tiger. You knew it could kill you. You just didn't know when it would wake up. Sir, message from Coalition Command. Counselor Doyen orders us to prepare for strike operations. Minji closed his eyes. He had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Understood. But we don't fire until I give the order. Clear? Yes, Admiral. On the planet, tensions were rising too. A group of radical humans had grown tired of waiting. They gathered in secret, planning their own response to the Coalition's threats. We should strike first, one of them said. His name was Dongwu, a soldier who had lost his entire family in the war. Show them we're not afraid. That's exactly what they want, Seojin argued. They want an excuse to destroy us. We give them that and everyone dies. We're already dead if we do nothing, Dongwu shot back. They'll just wait until we're all awake and vulnerable, then kill us all at once. At least if we fight now, we die with honor. Before anyone could stop them, Dongwu and his group launched an unauthorized attack. A small coalition supply depot near the edge of the system exploded. No casualties, but the message was clear. Nari heard about it seconds after it happened. She was furious. Find them. Arrest them now. She turned to her officers. And send an apology to the coalition. Make it clear this was not authorized. But the damage was done. In the coalition capital, Counselor Doyen smiled. This was exactly what he needed. The humans have attacked us, he announced to the council. They claim to want peace, but prove they are still violent. We must act before they grow stronger. Jiwan stood up in the council chamber. One small group acting alone doesn't represent all humans. Captain Nari has already arrested those responsible. Can you guarantee they won't attack again? Doyen demanded. Can you promise that humanity won't become a threat to the entire galaxy? Can you guarantee the coalition won't commit genocide again? Jiwan shot back. Because that's what you did last time. You didn't try to negotiate, you just started killing. The council erupted into arguments. Species that remembered the old wars demanded action. Younger species who had never seen a human before argued for caution. The galaxy was splitting apart. Meanwhile, Jiho worked in the shadows. She was a coalition intelligence officer who had stumbled upon something terrible. Counselor Doyen's private communications told a different story. He wasn't trying to protect the galaxy. He was trying to create a crisis he could exploit for power. She copied the files and prepared to release them. But she knew it would make her a traitor to many. Still, the truth mattered more than her career. Back on the human planet, Dr. Yuna called an emergency meeting. She was a scientist who had just woken from cryosleep with crucial knowledge. There's something you all need to know, she said to the assembled leaders. Before we went into hiding, humanity created a failsafe. We called it the Ragnarok Protocol. What does it do? Nari asked. Yuna pulled up a star map. Red dots appeared across the entire galaxy. Thousands of them. We scattered autonomous weapons throughout space. Hidden in asteroid belts, nebulae, even inside gas giants. They've been dormant for 3,000 years, but they're programmed to activate if humanity faces extinction. And they detect threats how? Sojin asked, though he already feared the answer. Sensor networks. If a certain number of humans die in a short time, or if our population drops below critical levels, the weapons wake up. And their orders are simple. Eliminate any species that threatens humanity's survival. The room went silent. Finally, Nari spoke. Can we turn them off? Yuna shook her head. They were designed to be unstoppable. Our ancestors were desperate. They built these weapons knowing they might never wake up to control them. The protocol runs automatically. Then we need to tell the Coalition, Commander Taeyang said. He had been working with the humans to establish trust. If they attack you, those weapons will activate. They'll kill billions, but it was too late. Counselor Doyen had already given the order. A rogue faction of the Coalition fleet, loyal to him personally, launched an attack on a human hibernation facility. The weapons hit before anyone could stop them. Thousands of humans died, still sleeping in their pods. They never knew what hit them, and across the galaxy, ancient sensors detected the attack. The Ragnarok protocol activated. Weapons that had slept for 3,000 years opened their eyes. Yuna stared at her screens in horror. Oh no, oh no, no, no. They're waking up. All of them. Can you stop them? Nari demanded. No, Yuna whispered. Nobody can. The Ragnarok weapons don't negotiate. They don't hesitate. They were built by people who had already watched their civilization burn once. People who swore it would never happen again. The first Coalition ships to encounter the active weapons were destroyed in minutes. The ancient platforms didn't just react. They anticipated. They had been studying the galaxy for 3,000 years, learning, evolving, waiting for this moment. The war everyone feared had finally begun, and this time humanity had weapons that knew only one purpose: survival at any cost. Colonel Hajun woke up in darkness. For a moment, he didn't know where he was. Then the memories came flooding back. The Ragnarok protocol, the weapons platform, his mission. Welcome back, Colonel, a synthetic voice said. It was the platform's AI, his only companion for this endless watch. 3,047 years have passed since you entered cryosleep. Status report, Hajun commanded, his training taking over. Humanity is under attack. The Coalition has destroyed a hibernation facility. Estimated casualties: 7,312 humans. The Ragnarok protocol is now active. All platforms are engaging hostile forces. Hajun moved to the command station. Through the sensors, he could see the galaxy as it existed now. So different from the one he left. But the mission remained the same. Protect humanity. No matter the cost. Show me the battle zones. Red indicators appeared across the star map. Ragnarok weapons were striking everywhere. Coalition military bases, shipyards, defense stations. The weapons didn't attack civilians directly, but they were crippling the Coalition's ability to wage war. A communication request came through. Hajun hesitated, then accepted. A human woman appeared on the screen. She looked exhausted. Colonel Hajun, my name is General Kyungmin. I'm part of the awakened human leadership. We need you to stand down. Stand down? The Coalition attacked us. My orders are clear. Your orders are 3,000 years old, Kyungmin said gently. The situation has changed. We're trying to make peace. Peace with the people who tried. To exterminate us, who just killed thousands of our people. It was a rogue faction, not the whole Coalition. If we keep fighting, everyone dies. Please, Colonel. Trust us. Hajun ended the transmission. He didn't take orders from survivors. He took orders from the dead. From the billions who died to ensure humanity would continue. And those orders said to protect humanity at all costs. Far away on a Coalition civilian station, Yunji hugged her daughter tight. They were trying to evacuate, but the ships couldn't leave fast enough. A Ragnarok platform was approaching. Its sensors had identified the station as a Coalition asset. Mommy, I'm scared, her daughter whimpered. I know, baby, I know, just hold on. The weapon platform's scanners swept over the station. It detected Coalition military equipment stored in the cargo bay. Target confirmed. Weapons charging. Then something unexpected happened. A Coalition warship placed itself between the platform and the station, but it didn't fire. Instead, it broadcast a message on all frequencies. This is Commander Taeyang of the Coalition Defense Fleet. There are 3,000 civilians on that station, including children. If you attack, you'll be killing innocents. That's not what humanity stands for. The platform paused. Its AI analyzed the situation. Coalition military vessel protecting coalition civilians from human weapons. This didn't match expected behavior patterns. The platform requested guidance from Colonel Hajun. Hajun studied the data. He saw the civilians, the children. He thought about what humanity was fighting for. Not revenge, survival. If they became monsters to survive, what was the point? Hold fire, he ordered. Allow the evacuation. The platform powered down its weapons. Yunji and her daughter made it to a transport ship. As they left, she looked back at the human weapon that could have killed them all. It just watched them go. But not all encounters ended peacefully. Admiral Minjae watched his fleet being torn apart. The Ragnarok weapons were too advanced, too smart. They predicted his moves before he made them. Ship after ship went dark. Sir, we need to retreat. If we retreat, they'll follow us to populated systems. We hold here. Minjae opened a private channel to the human planet. This is Admiral Minjae to Captain Nari. We need to work together, or both our peoples will be destroyed. I'm proposing a joint command, coalition and human forces fighting the Ragnarok weapons together. It was an insane suggestion. Two enemies joining forces against weapons created by one of them. But Nari saw the wisdom in it. Agreed. Send me your tactical data. We'll see if we can find a way to slow them down. Dr. Yuna worked frantically, analyzing the Ragnarok protocol. There had to be a way to stop it without destroying the platforms. Finally, she found something. The weapons can't be deactivated, she announced, but they can be satisfied. They're programmed to eliminate existential threats to humanity. If the coalition formally recognizes human sovereignty and signs an enforceable peace treaty, the weapons might downgrade their threat assessment. Might? Someone asked. Might, Yuna confirmed. The protocol was designed by desperate people. They built in some flexibility, but not much. The weapons will watch. They'll judge whether the peace is real, and if they decide it's not. She didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. Phase 2 would activate, and nobody knew what Phase 2 would do. Jiho finally released the evidence of Counselor Doyen's manipulation. The files spread across the galaxy within hours. Proof that he had orchestrated the crisis for personal power. Proof that he wanted war, not peace. The Coalition Council arrested Doyen immediately. But the damage was done. Thousands were dead on both sides. Trust was broken and the Ragnarok weapons were still active. An emergency council session was called. Jiwan spoke first. We have a choice. We can keep fighting until everyone is dead, or we can prove that we've learned from our mistakes. The humans want peace. So do most of us. Let's give the Ragnarok weapons what they need to stand down. Let's sign a real treaty. The vote was close, but it passed. The coalition formally recognized human sovereignty. They signed a treaty promising non-aggression and mutual defense. They even agreed to share territory and resources. The treaty was transmitted to every Ragnarok platform. Across the galaxy, weapons received the signal and analyzed it. Gradually, they began to power down. Not deactivating completely, just watching. Waiting to see if this peace was real. Colonel Hajun broadcast a final message. 3,000 years ago, we were built to ensure humanity survived. Today, I believe survival means more than just existing. It means building something worth existing for. We will watch. We will remember. But we will give you a chance to prove that peace is possible. The immediate crisis was over, but everyone knew the real test was just beginning. The weapons were watching everything. One mistake could trigger Phase 2, and nobody wanted to find out what that meant. The peace was fragile. Like ice covering a lake in early spring, everyone knew it could break at any moment. But slowly, carefully, both sides tried to make it work. Jiwan and Seojin had spent months creating the Joint Commission. Their job was to investigate the past, to uncover the real history of what happened 3,000 years ago. What they found shocked everyone. The coalition started the war, Jiwan said at a public hearing. That part is true, but humanity wasn't innocent either. Our ancestors expanded aggressively. They claimed planets without asking. They ignored other species' territorial claims. And when diplomats tried to negotiate, some human extremists attacked them. The revelation caused anger on both sides. Many humans felt betrayed. Learning their ancestors weren't pure victims, many coalition members felt vindicated, believing humanity had deserved punishment. Commodore Mirai watched the broadcast with cold eyes. She commanded a human battle group now. Her ship was powerful, her crew loyal, and she still remembered her daughter, dead in a cryopod during the evacuation from Earth. "They're trying to make it our fault," she said to her officers. "They killed billions of us, and now they want us to share the blame." "What should we do, Commodore?" Mirai stared out at the stars. Part of her wanted revenge, but another part, the part that remembered her daughter's laugh, wanted something different. She wanted to make sure no other mother lost a child to stupidity and hate. "We wait," she said finally. "We watch. And we hope this peace is real, because if it's not, everyone loses." On a neutral station, the first integrated school opened. Human and coalition children learning together. It was an experiment, and everyone watched nervously to see if it would work. Young-ho was one of the first students. He was a human child, born from an embryo preserved during the Exodus. He had never known Earth, had never experienced the old hatreds. To him, this was just normal. He sat next to a Velkari girl named Bora. Her grandparents had fought in the Great Purge Wars. Her family still had nightmares about humans. But Bora looked at Young-ho and saw just another kid trying to figure out math homework. "Can you help me with this problem?" she asked shyly. Young-ho looked at her paper and smiled. "Sure. It's actually pretty easy once you understand the pattern." That simple moment was broadcast across the galaxy. Two children from enemy species helping each other with homework. It became a symbol of hope. But hope wasn't enough for everyone. Extremists on both sides plotted in secret. They believed peace was weakness. They wanted to restart the war, to finish what their ancestors began. The attack came without warning. Human radicals bombed a coalition cultural center. At the same time, coalition hardliners attacked a human hibernation facility. The strikes were coordinated, designed to destroy the peace process. But something unexpected happened. Coalition security forces threw themselves in front of the human facility, dying to protect sleeping humans. Human soldiers did the same at the cultural center, fighting their own extremists to save coalition civilians. Commander Taiyang was at the cultural center when the bomb went off. He saw a human soldier tackle a radical before they could detonate a second device. The soldier took the blast himself. Taiyang rushed to the fallen soldier. The man's name tag read Junho. He was dying. "Why?" Taiyang asked, pressing his hands against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. "Why did you save us?" Junho coughed blood but managed to smile. "Because someone has to break the cycle. Someone has to choose different." He died in Taeyang's arms. The commander, who had spent his whole career following orders, who believed in rules and protocols above all else, wept for an enemy soldier who became a hero. The broadcasts of the attacks and the rescues went viral. Both populations saw the same thing. Former enemies dying to protect each other. It was proof that change was possible. That peace wasn't just words on a treaty. High above in his weapon platform, Colonel Hajun watched it all. The Ragnarok weapons had been monitoring everything. Phase 2 had been counting down, ready to activate if the peace failed, but now, seeing coalition soldiers die for humans, seeing human soldiers die for the coalition, the countdown paused. "AI, assessment," Hajun commanded. Phase 2 countdown suspended. New data suggests both populations are genuinely pursuing peaceful coexistence. Recommendation: maintain observation protocol but do not initiate Phase 2 at this time. Hajun broadcast a message to all Ragnarok platforms. Stand down to observation protocol. Continue monitoring but take no offensive action. Humanity's survival may depend on the coalition's survival now. We watch, we wait. We give them time to prove this peace is real. Across the galaxy, ancient weapons powered down to minimal levels. Still active, still watching, but no longer threatening immediate destruction. General Kyung-min visited Captain Nari in her quarters. They had both been struggling with the same question. Could they really forgive what had been done to humanity? "I watched a coalition soldier die today," Nari said quietly. "He died protecting our people." "How do I hate someone who does that?" "You don't," Kyung-min replied. "You remember what was done. You stay vigilant, but you give them a chance to be different than their ancestors. Just like we want them to give us that same chance." At the school, Young-ho and Bora created a project together. They interviewed survivors from both sides, recording their stories. The pain, the loss, but also the hope. The determination to build something better. Their documentary was called The Choice, because that's what it came down to. Everyone could choose to repeat the past or build a different future. Every day was a choice. Every interaction was a choice. Commodore Mireille watched the documentary. She saw Junho dying to save Coalition civilians. She saw Coalition soldiers doing the same for humans, and she made her choice. She announced her retirement from military service. But she didn't disappear. Instead, she accepted a new position, head of the Joint Memorial Project, creating monuments throughout the galaxy to remember all victims of the wars, human and alien alike. At the dedication ceremony, she spoke quietly, but everyone listened. I can't bring my daughter back. I can't undo what was done to any of us, but I can make sure we remember. And I can make sure no other mother loses a child because we're too stupid to choose peace over pride. The peace held, not because it was easy, but because enough people on both sides chose to make it work. The ultimate price wasn't just what was lost in the past. It was what they had to give up now. Pride, revenge, the comfort of simple hatred, but in return they got something they thought was lost forever. Hope. 5 years had passed since the failed extremist attacks. The galaxy looked different now. Human settlements spread across 3 new worlds. The awakened population had grown to 5 million, though still far below their ancient numbers. But integration proved harder than anyone expected. Human technology was advanced in ways that made coalition companies nervous. Human culture felt alien to species who had lived without them for 3,000 years, and beneath the surface old fears still lurked. Ambassador Su Yung stood before the Coalition Council. She had been a diplomat before the war, asleep for 3 millennia, now thrust into politics again. Today she proposed something radical. The current system isn't working, she said bluntly. Humanity is a member of the coalition, but we're treated as outsiders. We need full integration, equal representation at every level, not as guests but as partners. You want equal say when you're only 5 million people among trillions? A counselor challenged. I want a system where neither side can hurt the other without destroying ourselves. Su Yung replied. Right now you don't trust us and we don't trust you. So let's build something where trust doesn't matter, where cooperation is the only way forward. The debate raged for weeks, but slowly support grew for what became known as the New Compact. A complete restructuring of coalition governance to ensure both sides had equal power to veto dangerous decisions. Meanwhile, Kiwan and Dr. Yuna worked on something that would prove cooperation wasn't just political, it was practical. Kiwan was a coalition engineer, brilliant but frustrated by how slowly his people adopted new ideas. Yuna was a human physicist who understood technologies the coalition had never imagined. Together, they created something revolutionary. It's a new type of faster-than-light drive, Kiwan explained at the demonstration. Human innovation combined with our understanding of subspace physics. It's 3 times faster than any existing drive and uses half the energy. The test flight was a success. Ships that once took months to cross the galaxy could now do it in weeks. Trade routes that were unprofitable became viable. Colonies that were isolated became connected. This is what we can achieve together, Yuna said. Neither of us could have done this alone. But together we're building something better than either species had before. The new drive became a symbol. Proof that cooperation wasn't just about avoiding war. It was about building a better future. But the biggest test came when mining operations discovered another human hibernation facility. This one contained not soldiers or civilians, but scientists. The best minds of pre-war humanity, preserved to rebuild civilization if needed. Captain Nari and Commander Taeyang jointly oversaw the awakening protocol. They had become close friends over the years, their trust built through shared struggles. Among those who woke was Dr. Heejin, humanity's greatest quantum physicist. She adapted quickly to the new reality, studying all that had happened. Then she called a meeting of both human and coalition leaders. I understand the situation, she said. The coalition fears humanity will advance too quickly and become a threat again. Humanity fears the coalition will turn on them when vulnerable. Both fears are rational given the history. So what do we do? Nari asked. Mandatory technology sharing, Heejin said simply. Every major advancement either side makes gets shared within 6 months. We establish joint research facilities. We train each other's scientists. We rise together or fall together. That way neither side can get strong enough to threaten the other without making both sides stronger. It was a radical proposal, sharing military technology, scientific discoveries, even cultural knowledge. But the more people thought about it, the more sense it made. Young Ho, now a teenager, had been watching the debates with interest. He and his friends at the integrated school had their own ideas about the future. They called their movement Children of the Compact. The adults are trying to make peace work, Young Ho said at a youth rally. That's good, but we want more. We want to build something completely new. A generation ship project, crewed by both humans and coalition species, sent to a distant galaxy to establish a truly integrated colony. Not human or coalition, both, together from the start. The idea captured imaginations across the galaxy. Thousands of young people from both sides volunteered. It became a symbol of the future they were building together. The Coalition Council voted on Dr. Heejin's technology-sharing proposal. It passed, but barely. Too many still feared humanity. Too many remembered the old wars. The same day, humans held their own vote. Should they initiate shutdown protocols for the Ragnarok weapons? Permanent deactivation that couldn't be reversed. It meant making themselves vulnerable again. Trusting the coalition completely, the vote passed. Barely. As the first Ragnarok platform began its shutdown sequence, Colonel Hajun broadcast a final message. 3,000 years ago, we were built to ensure humanity survived. We were swords in the darkness, ready to strike at any threat. Today, I believe survival means more than just existing. It means building something worth existing for. We were humanity's weapon when the galaxy offered only violence. May you never need us again. One by one, the ancient weapons went dark. The platforms that had watched over humanity for 3 millennia powered down for the last time. Hajun was the last. He took one final look at the galaxy through his sensors, at the peace that was being built, then closed his eyes and entered his final sleep. For the first time in 3,000 years, humanity was truly vulnerable. No ancient weapons watching over them. No ultimate failsafe ready to activate. Just people, trying to build something better, hoping the galaxy would give them that chance. Hana, a human journalist, documented everything. Her reports became the historical record of this era. She interviewed people from both sides, captured their hopes and fears, their struggles and triumphs. The reconstruction has begun, she wrote in her final article of the year. But the hardest work isn't rebuilding cities or developing technology. It's building trust across generations of trauma. Every day people choose to work together despite their pain. Every day the peace holds because enough people decide it's worth the effort. That's the real reconstruction. And it's just beginning. The galaxy watched nervously. The Ragnarok weapons were gone. The peace was real. But it was also fragile. Both sides had made themselves vulnerable to each other. They had chosen trust over safety. Now they would learn if that choice was wisdom or folly. 20 years had passed since humanity reawakened. The galaxy had transformed in ways nobody predicted. Integrated communities were common now. Human coalition joint ventures drove most major industries. Children grew up speaking multiple languages, studying both histories, preparing for a future that belonged to everyone. But peace had made people comfortable. Perhaps too comfortable. The distress signal came from the edge of explored space. A joint exploration vessel had discovered something impossible. Another civilization, more advanced than either humans or the coalition, had been watching them for centuries. They called themselves the Priors. And they had a message that would shake everything. Director Jae-hyun led the crisis response team. He was unique, born from experimental genetic therapy that combined human and Velkari DNA. A living symbol of integration. Now he faced beings that made both his parent species look primitive. The prior representative appeared as pure energy, taking whatever form was convenient. It called itself the Observer. You have passed the trial, the Observer said. Your species warred, nearly destroyed each other, and chose peace. This was a test. The galaxy is full of species that failed. You are the first in 1,000 years to succeed. Jae-hyun felt ice in his stomach. A test? All of it? The war, the deaths, everything? We guide species toward their potential. Sometimes that required pressure. You needed to learn that cooperation is stronger than conflict. Now you have. The news spread across the galaxy within hours. The Great Purge Wars hadn't been natural. The Priors had orchestrated everything, manipulating both sides into conflict to test whether they could find peace. Rage erupted everywhere. Humans and coalition citizens alike felt betrayed. Their pain, their losses, their struggles had all been part of someone else's experiment. Elder Insu listened to the broadcasts with ancient eyes. He was over 3,000 years old, kept alive by advanced medicine. He had survived the original war without cryosleep, living through every lonely century of waiting. Now he decided to speak publicly for the first time in decades. "I was on Earth when the coalition attacked," he said to a gathered crowd. "I watched my family die. I spent 3,000 years alone, keeping our history alive, hoping someone would eventually wake up. The priors tell us now that our suffering was a test, that our pain had purpose." He paused, looking at the mixed crowd of humans and aliens, all united in their anger at the priors. "But here's what they don't understand. I didn't learn to forgive because some cosmic being designed a test. I learned to forgive because the alternative was carrying 3,000 years of hate. That choice was mine, not theirs, and that choice matters more than any test." His words resonated. Ji-won, now an elder stateswoman herself, organized a unified response. Leaders from across human and coalition space gathered. "The priors manipulated us," she said. "They caused unimaginable suffering. But the peace we built, that was our choice. They set up the test, but we're the ones who passed it. And we did it by choosing cooperation over revenge, understanding over hate." The observer returned with an offer: access to prior technology, membership in a galactic federation of graduated species, protection from future threats. Ambassador Su-young spoke for both civilizations. "We'll accept Federation membership. We'll build relationships with other graduated species. But we don't want your technology. We don't want your protection. Because the moment we depend on you, we stop choosing our own path. Our peace isn't real if it's maintained by your power. It's only real if we choose it, protect it, and fight for it ourselves." The observer seemed surprised. Most species begged for prior assistance. "These ones rejected it. As you wish," it said. "But know that we will be watching, always." "Watch all you want," Young-ho said. He was an adult now, captain of the generation ship that was almost ready to launch. "We're not performing for you anymore. We're building our future, and we're doing it our way." The generation ship launched a year later. Thousands of crew members, human and alien, setting out for a distant galaxy to establish a truly integrated colony. Not because the priors suggested it, because young people from both species wanted to build something new together. Captain Nari, old now but still sharp, attended the memorial service on the 50th anniversary of first contact. She stood before the monument that bore millions of names, human and alien, victims and heroes. "The ancient warning was right," she said to the assembled crowd. "They ignored it and we paid the ultimate price. But that price wasn't just the deaths. It wasn't just the destroyed worlds. The ultimate price was the trust that was broken between our peoples. Trust that took generations to rebuild. We've been paying that price for 50 years now. Every day, choosing to trust when fear says to hide. Choosing to build when anger says to destroy. And we'll keep paying it, because that's the only way the dead are honored, by making sure their sacrifice meant something." 50 years later, Ji-won gave her final lecture at New Earth University. Students from a dozen species listened as she explained the history they lived through. "People ask me if the priors were right to test us that way," she said. "I don't know. I don't think I'll ever know. But I know this, the test didn't make us peaceful. Our choices did. The priors watched, but we saved ourselves." A student raised their hand. "Professor, do you think humanity and the coalition would have made peace without the priors pushing them?" Ji-won smiled. "I think we would have found our way eventually. Maybe it would have taken longer. Maybe more would have died. But the capacity for peace was always in us. We just needed to be desperate enough, scared enough, tired enough to finally choose it." She looked out at New Earth, where children of every species played together, where monuments honored all victims, not just one side, where the future was being built by people who chose cooperation over conflict. "The ancient warning said we'd pay the ultimate price," she continued. "And we did. But the price wasn't destruction. It was transformation. Sometimes the ultimate price of peace is becoming someone different than who you were when the war began." Outside, the Ragnarok Memorial stood silent, a reminder of what they built in fear and what they chose to leave behind. The weapons were gone forever, but the lesson remained. The greatest threat to any civilization isn't external enemies. It's the choice to answer fear with violence, prejudice with hate, differences with war. Humanity and the Coalition learned that lesson at terrible cost. Billions dead, millennia lost, but they learned it. And in learning it, they proved that even the deadliest warnings can be overcome, not through strength, not through weapons, but through the courage to choose peace when war would be easier, through the wisdom to build bridges when walls would be simpler, through the hope that tomorrow could be better than yesterday if enough people chose to make it so. The ancient warning had been about humans, about how dangerous they were, how the galaxy should fear them, but in the end the real danger had never been humans. It had been fear itself, and the real victory wasn't defeating an enemy. It was learning to live with former enemies as friends. That was the ultimate price, and that was the ultimate triumph.